Greetings everyone. So this is the second part of our lesson series on genetics. So we ended in dominant and recessive alleles. So we're going to start from where we ended in our previous lesson. So some stuff that we need to know regarding this is like, what is a dominant allele? So a dominant allele is the one that prevent the recessive from showing in the phenotype. So when we're talking about the phenotype, we're talking about like the physical presentation of an organism, like something physical, something you see, as much as it is influenced by the genes, but something you can see, just like the eye color, which is the constant example I will use for the purpose of these lessons. When you see the color of someone's eye, that is like phenotype. But then genotype would be those genes that resulted in his or her color being green or being brown, if what I'm saying makes sense. So dominant allele, how do you say it, or what is it? It is the one that prevent the recessive allele from showing in the phenotype. So the recessive one is the one that shows when the dominant allele is not there. It looks like an F. It's not there. So irrecessive shows only when the dominant one is not there. That means it shows itself in the phenotype when the recessive one is not there. Going back to our example, let's say brown is dominant over green, but as much as brown is dominant over green, but you see the eye color as green, that means there was no allele for brown, which is dominant. Then that is the reason why the recessive one, which is green, ended up being seen in the phenotype, or ended up being physically seen. That means the dominant allele was not there, because if the dominant allele was there, then the phenotype for the dominant allele was going to be the one that was going to be seen on the phenotype. Let me just do this. Let's say brown is dominant and green is recessive. So your parents carries maybe both, like carries alleles for brown, like as in, for example, we will do this in depth. It might not make sense now, but as we move along, it will make sense. Let's say brown is represented by homozygous dominant. When I say homo means the same. That means they are the same as much as they are in their pairs. Then let's say this one is homozygous recessive for being green, not T. Homozygous recessive, it's supposed to be B. Let me just try to erase that. Okay. So green, BB. So if your mother got this and your father got this, regardless of which combinations, actually not regardless of which combinations, your combinations will definitely be B B, that means you will take one from the father, one from the mother, then end up with BP. But because there is this capital letter B, which is for brown, the dominant allele, then your eye color will end up being brown. The only case when you will have green eye color, it is when you have BP. That means this one only shows when the capital letter B is not there. But this might not make sense now, as I'm not dealing with it now, but I will deal with it in the next lesson. But I was just giving you an idea of what this is all about. You are not expected to understand it as yet, as we will give it special attention so that we make sure we do understand it. So the concept that I use to understand dominant and recessive, it is what I call the cat mice theory. Like I call that cat mice theory. But when I say mice, like mice is actually the plural for mouse. Impuku. Then when I say this is the cat mice theory, like in my understanding, when the cat is there, you will never see the mice. That means the mice run away because the cat is there, because like the cat feed on mice. So the only time you're gonna see the mice, it is when the cat is not there. So this means by seeing the cat, you already know that the mice are not there or they are hiding. But by seeing the mice, you already know that the cat is not there, because the mice will never avail themselves or will never reveal themselves if the cat is there, because the cat is gonna eat them. Same applies here. You can think of the dominant allele as the cat, the recessive allele as the mice, which is the plural for mouse. So that means as long as there is this one, it will show itself. That means it will be revealed in the phenotype. But this one will only be revealed if this one is not there. If what I'm saying makes sense. This one, if it is available, it will show itself. But this one, whether it's hiding or it's wherever, it will only be able to reveal itself if the cat is not there. That means the recessive allele will only show up only if the dominant allele is not there. I guess I've stressed that so much. So what you need to know, the dominant allele is represented in uppercase letter or capital letter. Always you use a capital letter to represent a dominant allele. Here you use a lowercase letter. That means a small letter. Lowercase letter to represent a recessive allele. Like you just have to know that always you use a capital letter to represent dominant, and you use lowercase letter to represent recessive. So when moving on, we're going to understand these two concepts, which is homozygous as well as heterozygous. What you need to understand is that homo means the same, and hetero, different. So you already know when they say homozygous, they will talk about like things that are the same, and when they say heterozygous, then that means it will be different. So a standard definition would be like when you see a chromosomes having a different pair of alleles, then you know you will term them as heterozygous. Like This is basically what I'm saying. Let's say they are representing alleles for any other reason as BB. You see, capital letter B, small letter p. That means we said a capital letter represents a dominant allele. That means it's a combination of dominant and recessive. Then we say heterozygous. But for homozygous, it would be either BB, because these are the same, or BB. These are the same as well. So that is what is meant by homozygous and heterozygous. But this one would be just heterozygous only. But this one would be heterozygous dominant. That means they are the same and at the same time they are dominant. And this one would be heterozygous recessive. Because as much as they are the same, which means homozygous, not heterozygous, homozygous. As much as they are the same, which is homo, but at the same time they are recessive. Why? Because those are lowercase letters, and we say a lowercase letter or a small letter represents recessive. Hopefully that was clear. So something small we need to understand, it is the concept of genotype versus phenotype. Okay, let's say we are using the same example we were using on eye color. Okay, let's say this represent brown. Let me say, okay, let's say brown is dominant over green. So as a result, brown will be B or B. But you might not understand this, which is actually fine, because we will have a lesson which is, I think, the next one, or it's definitely the next one, where we will unpack these so that you understand them better. Then green will definitely be B, because green is recessive, and we said recessive is represented by lowercase letter, and dominant is represented by uppercase letter, regardless of there is also a lowercase letter, but there is an uppercase letter, which brings back our cat mice theory that if the cat is there, you're not gonna mention the mouse because the cat is already there. So you mention the uppercase regardless of the lowercase being there. Here it's straightforward because both uppercases, so you're gonna mention them. So this would be phenotype, because it's something that you can see. Phenotype, because when you say something is green, something is brown, something is tall, something is long, or something is tall, something is short, that is phenotypic, or that's something physical, something you can see. But when they say an allele of a gene in that specific gene or of that specific chromosome is represented by capital letter P, small letter p, you're not gonna see that. So this is what we term as genotype. It is at a genetic level. So phenotype, what you can see, something physical. Genotype, just something at a genetic levels. That means it is concerned about the actual gene. So I've spent a lot of time explaining this part. I guess I have to stop right here, and we will meet again in the next lesson. Thank you.